Everybody, welcome to Jolty. Anna and I are so excited to have Chloé de Ruffray, I think I'm saying it right, a brilliant trend researcher, join us. We love other futurists, other trend people. We love to compare notes, etc. And we're very excited to have her. What do you think, Addie?
It's our first Jolty of the year, right? So
Yeah, Happy New
let's
Year. Happy
happy
Jolty
New Year,
year.
right? Let's hope
Oh,
it's still.
is it going to be a Jolty year?
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I think we're in the middle of what they call a polycrisis. So yeah, it's pretty going to be pretty rough. But I think it's good to start our first Jolty of the year with. I believe this is the first true futurist that we've interviewed on Jolty too. So it's going to be great, as you say, to compare notes
Yeah.
and to see how everybody is looking differently out beyond the horizon.
Yep. And she's in Paris. Is she living in Paris? That's pretty cool.
Was it Paris or was it somewhere? I think she was somewhere in the Loire Valley. I don't remember, but it's somewhere I want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of here where it's freezing and
Yes.
not too pretty.
No, it's
So,
gray.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I mean, it's almost, I'm thinking that people are going to even want to hide out more because it's too much to bear. Nobody wants to go back to work, except the big bosses want them to come back. Everybody thinks there's like maybe like a economic crisis looming. There's the Ukraine. You know, what else could there be? They're shooting. They shot another kid. I mean, I don't know. Is it always feel like this?
Yeah, I do think that we are in a unique moment of so many things happening to people at the same time that they really have become numb. We've talked about this. They don't really know how to react.
Yeah.
I think that's why you're seeing, there was just this article about the huge part of the toy business that is now being bought by, consumed by adults buying toys. It's a great, we
Yeah.
are in this great forget a recession. We're in a regression.
I love that. That's a good quote.
Yes.
Forget a recession. We're in a regression. We'll have to tweet that.
Yes.
Um, yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's just in my house here, but there seems to be like a big trend toward board games, not electronic games. We have board games stacked up to the
There
ceiling.
was just a story in NPR about the explosion of board games. Yes. Yes.
Crazy, right? So what
Yes.
is that? Is that we want to be together, we want to bond, we want to like get closer to our families, we want to stop retiring behind our screens?
I think so. I think it's a return to the analog to some degree. Board games are analog. Why are vinyl records so popular now? And, they've crossed CDs in terms of sales. That's also
Yeah.
returned to analog. So that's also a kind of regression. It's all coming together.
If there's this nostalgia or what did you call it? Like, moving
Regression.
regression, moving backward with board games. What about food? What's going to, is suddenly organic too cold? Do we want some spaghetti? Do we want to call pasta spaghetti? Do we want it with red sauce?
The red sauce is kind of cool. So look at what happened with plant based meat, right? Which everybody thought was going to, Beyond Meat, Impossible Foods, and so forth,
Right.
Beyond Burger. And now it's crusted and the stocks have been crushed and sales are down. That's a rejection of technology, basically. Like board games is rejection of technology. And people are fed up with big tech. So there's an anti-tech backlash, and I think that's expressed in food too. We want simpler. It's in a way it's like the comfort food revolution, but it's even more basic. I think.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons that the veggie burgers and all, are crashing is that they were made up of such, kind of crap,
That's correct.
pushed to, melded together. I don't want to believe, and I don't want to say here that we're going to stop caring about killing animals and going veggie because, I'm a big proponent. And as you know, the cows are killing the planet. We cannot go on eating like that. So that's it. I don't think we've cracked that.
Right.
But yeah, it seems like cold or you know what the hottest color is beside magenta, which is a very hot color
Right.
this year, the panda. is dark purple. And, so we're tired of what that sterile white look, the iceberg look in apartments and houses. Maybe we are looking for something warmer or less complicated or kinder. I don't know.
Also safer. I mean,
Hmm.
purple is safe. It's embracing, and white is cold and harsh and a little bit scary.
And you look terrible too, as I sit in front of my white background, but with a filter on. Anyway, yeah, wouldn't that we have to watch that, you know? I mean, the modern car, we as we work together on this carcoons, the minivan and all. Now Nissan has this concept car which is beautiful. It's a van, but it can convert to an office and maybe a sleeper. I don't know. That like the mini bus, the Volkswagen bus was like part, the beginning of that. But so what's going to happen with cars? Maybe they're not going to be so sleek and small and look like a rocket ship. Maybe we want something warmer,
More, yeah,
cozier.
more comfy and more comforting.
Yeah, and
Assuming
more.
we're going to be in cars that much in the future, because I don't think we are
You don't think we're going to be
in
traveling?
cars as much. No, I think that look what's happening in New York in terms of the combination of congestion pricing and more roads being turned over to bicyclists,
Yeah.
and just reinventing the city around walkability. So
Mhm.
we may be using cars to go longer distances, but then you've also got massive investments in light rail that are happening to connect San Francisco and Los Angeles by rail. So, and plus Gen X, millennials, and Z, they don't like to drive that much. It's not like it was for our generation when getting the keys to the car was a form of freedom, right? It's
Freedom.
not like
Yeah.
that anymore.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't think, I don't think we're going to be seeing as many people on the roads.
Interesting. I'm so excited to have Chloe de Ruffray come on. A real futurist like we are. I want to know what she's seeing. She's over there in Europe. She's so smart and open, and I can't wait to talk to her. Should we
Yeah,
get
I
her
think,
on?
yeah, let's get her on and let's kick it off.
Okay.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Hey,
Hey,
happy New Year to
Good to see
you.
you
good
too.
to see
I'm
you.
good, thank you.
Yeah, just for our audience, Chloe, and we've introduced you as a futurist, and we're very excited to have another futurist on so we can compare notes and etc. But can you give the audience a little background on you, a couple of
Yeah, sure. So
minutes?
thank you so much first for having me. It's a pleasure. As you can hear, English is not my native language, so I'll do my
Oh,
best to speak in a very understandable way. But please excuse me if I do any mistakes or spelling anything.
no,
So
no, no.
yeah, as you said, my name is Chloe, or Chloe, as English speaking people like to call me. And it's such a good question. I mean, I would like to say that it was pretty random. I didn't want to become a futurist because I had no idea this job exists until I read a very short article on a magazine that was talking about those very cool women in Paris working in trend forecasting agencies. And back then I was living in Berlin and Germany and still studying and wondering, what can I do with my social science background? And I love sociology, but I don't want to do a PhD. I don't want to become a professor. And so I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. I can use my skills in sociology and social sciences, and then also combine it with my interest in arts and fashion and all that kind of thing. So for me, it became very clear that I wanted to be in this field of future thinking, trend research, that kind of thing. It's only later on, I would say, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that I really learn about the different ways of doing trends. So we have like the futurists, and we have the futurist designers, or people doing speculative design, or um, trend research foresight. But for me, at first, the reason why I wanted to work as a futurist slash trend researcher was because I'm passionate about humans. I have a really I love to be around humans, and I love to understand what motivates them and what drives them to do what they do, to be who they are, and to think how they think. And I wanted to use this interest and turn it into something meaningful that could help me to work in the future field. So this is how it all started 10 years ago.
Right.
So, just generally, we were just talking before you got on, the world is in such disarray, the economy, the war in the Ukraine, you know, just the destruction of the planet. What do you think people's reactions are to this kind of, surrounding?
This is such an interesting question. I just read when I was preparing our conversation that the most popular word in 2022 was perma-crisis. Crisis everywhere, all the time.
Right.
And that as a reaction after years of pandemic, crisis, delusion also, like people want to have fun. They are aware of what's happening, but there is this, I think one of someone in a report called it was a report by Trent Watching. It's a great agency in Amsterdam. They call it freedonism. So freedonism.
Oh,
And so I was like, this is interesting because there is such a discrepancy between what we see in the media and what is happening in the world, and how you
Right.
see people on the street. I mean, I don't know how it is in the US right now, and I would love to hear your perception. But here in France, people, of course, are
mhm.
scared and anxious and worried, but at the same time, there is this joy of wanting to move forward, to be together, to try to see it, maybe to see those crises as a chance, um, and try to make the best out of it all together. So maybe I'm a bit too optimistic. It's for some people it's a quality, for others it's a weakness, but I feel that one of the possible reactions to this perma crisis could be this need to have fun and to seek lightness wherever people can, if they can, in even just tiny moments, like this hopefulness. Yes. How
Yeah,
is it in the US? How do you see it? How
yes.
do you perceive it?
Well, people are asking us for advice all the time, what professions they should go into. And one of the ones that I think we're both very keen on is pleasure. And that's our pleasure revenge trend, things that make you happy. It doesn't have to be all the time, it's like psilocybin, like drugs, magic mushrooms. It could be like you teach yoga, right?
Yes.
Meditation. It could be coming from the inside, from a more spiritual place, that we're looking for some relief. What do you think,
Yeah,
Addie?
I'm seeing just so much content around the sort of the Zen joy in the moment approach, and rather than trying to affect these big transformational mind shifts, just to kind of appreciate what's there in a different way. I think I was just going to ask you in terms of the fact that we've got a president who's 80, and you've got a president who is not as young as he was when he was elected, but is still generationally very different. So, to what extent do you think the person at the top and their age, frankly, and their attitude towards the future has an impact socially, culturally?
That's such an interesting question. I'm not very familiar with Biden's work, but what I understand is that his great strength is to surround himself with younger people, sometimes very young people, Gen Z people, whether it is, at the White House or around the country. And in France, yes, when President Macron was elected, he was 39. He was not even 40.
Yeah,
He was very
right.
young. Yes, it's true. You're right, Adam. of course it impacts the way you feel with you go with the crisis, you go with what's happening. It also, there was like this kind of memes, or the memes, during the World Cup of President Macron during the final, against Argentina, who was really acting like a young boy, and it was all over the internet, like really showing his
Right.
emotions.
Right.
I'm not sure this is something that
Right.
President Biden would do in a public space. Maybe it's
No.
because of his age, of his
No.
personality. I don't know, but
It, it's like, it's like, the transition between Eisenhower and JFK in this country was a massive cultural shift, right? And you had that really with Macron. Um, so I just think it's interesting to think about the impact of the president on setting the mood. But then again, we needed, I think here we needed sort of the stability and the lack of drama that
yes,
Biden brought to kind
yeah,
of put a lid on things.
Yeah. I'll tell you one exception with Biden. He jumped into the Ford 150 truck. It's a little truck that Ford is selling. And that truck is doing so well still. It's the only thing at Ford that is really doing well. And he
Mm.
just spun around the racetrack like a kid. So I think maybe there's like a little bit, of like, I don't know, spirit there. But no, you're right. It's quite an age
yeah.
gap.
It's
Um, you know, wh- when you look at the aggregation, like Addie was asking you about these 2023 predictions that you like observed and you thought were so good, was that trend watching predictions or?
Yeah, trend watching. It's yes, for 2023.
Yeah. So which ones would you say you disagreed with? Which ones did you say? I mean, you mentioned freedomism, but which ones do you think that are, future thinking? What are you vibing with there?
So, uh, I mean, I try to come from a place of non-judgment, especially when I don't feel that I have enough
Hmm.
knowledge about certain topics. What I do instead is saying, okay, they see it as a trend, so it means that it's emerging. I don't think it's emerging. I think it's already there. Let's say, for instance, in one of the reports that I shared, with you, there was something about the age of healing. I think we've been in the age of healing for so many years now.
Mhm.
And then they were talking
Hmm.
about, the age of
Yeah.
enlightenment. Yes, it's true as well, but we've been there as well. So more than trends that I disagree with, it's more about maybe like the where the trend is in the graph. Like, is it emerging? Is it mainstream? Is it almost gone? One thing that I found interesting, and I barely have knowledge about it, to be honest, like this whole thing around metaverse. Last year it was all about the metaverse and NFT. It was kind of the keyword on LinkedIn. Whenever you would open your LinkedIn, you would see someone talking about it. And now it's all about the chat GPT. And I know that you had a question about it. So I'm wondering, is this a trend? It's here to stay, of course, but no one is talking anymore about metaverse in a way, like compared to last year.
Yeah. Well, McKinsey, I think, is projecting that it's going to be in the trillions of dollars, the metaverse. So I think that people don't know how to manage it yet. And they convince themselves that only young people are in the metaverse. I think that's why. I think it's hit like a kind of a gap. There are no real specialists that really, you know, understand it. Well, there's one agency that we know called
Oh,
Journey,
yes.
Kathy Hackle, is probably more advanced, but no, people don't get it yet. But the chat thing is, I think, really in Chatbox GPT. Now, people are saying, I think Adam and I share that we're fascinated with it and we think it's pretty good. I mean, we think the chat box is pretty good because, you can ask it a question, it spins, not just a general answer. So, I mean,
Yeah, we played around with it. I asked chatbot, what's the difference between a strategist and a futurist? Faith, I sent you that content.
yeah, I
I know
loved
it
it.
was pretty good. I think people who have been watching AI. So AI has been talked about for 30 years, and now everybody is talking about it. I think the metaverse is like that. It's the old expression: technology is always overestimated in the short term and
I love that.
underestimated in the long
Yeah.
term.
That's brilliant. That's right.
I think is true. And I think look how long it took for AI to finally demonstrate what it can do. Although in medicine is making some incredible inroads. I think the metaverse is the same thing. But I think part of the metaverse's problem is that when Zuckerberg changed the
Mm.
name of the company to Meta for obvious reasons, he made it seem as though Facebook is creating the metaverse and it's a top-down model as opposed to a bottom-up model, which is going to be embraced in different
Mm.
ways by different people. So I think a lot of the negative baggage that's become associated with Facebook over the years has now been transferred to the metaverse, and
I
I think
agree.
that's part of what's happening in terms of the.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think that when people, when a Google puts it down or other companies put it down, really what they're putting down is Meta,
Yes.
not the metaverse. And I think it's setting back the metaverse, some years. But let's talk about like a chat box. I mean, if it can write for you, if it can draw for you, and if it's really good at it, what's the next step there? What do we great writers, or let's say it gets better and better, and it does get better and better. What's going to happen next?
Well, what's going to happen next? Maybe it will help us to solve or to answer like very, very personal questions, ethical questions. So we will use it more for personal use, let's say like a hyper modern oracle, like the Greeks back then. Like, what
Yeah.
should I do? I want your opinion, and really like humanizing this
Oh,
tool that is, well, a tool, right? Considering like it as a friend, as someone that you can trust, on a deeper level than just, um,
yeah. I really like that because it's better than Google. Google just goes like blah blah blah. This is it, but it's more personable. It has more of a voice, and if you ask it questions like that involve violence, it goes, "I am not programmed to answer any of that."
yes.
So it has some ethics there. I think it's very interesting. It becomes the oracle. I mean, you don't have to like think that much. You can just ask it something.
Yeah, but the downside of that is, yes, it's all true, but at this point, because there is no moderation, really, it could be just another mechanism to spread disinformation too, because all it does is gather what's on the internet and cleverly assemble it so it sounds like a human being wrote the response and then push it back at you. So that's it. That's Google declared code red when it last week or the week before because they see it as this existential threat to search, which
Mm,
it is in a lot of ways. Not all kinds of searches. Chatbot GPT isn't going to be really good at telling you where to get a pizza at 2 o'clock in the sixth arrondissement, but it will be good telling you
mm,
what's the history of pizza and how did pizza evolve and what's the difference between Neapolitan and Sicilian pizza. So something like 50-60% of the searches that are on Google could be replaced by chat. In fact, I could send you guys a link. There's a there's a desktop app where you can put chat GPT next to Google and look at
oh,
your Google results and your
I'd
chat
love
results
that.
Oh,
Wow.
cool.
Yeah,
simultaneously.
please. When you have a moment to send it. Yeah.
Yeah, send us that. That's amazing. But look, isn't Google being a little bit self-interested to say that it's, putting a like a blanket over Chat GPT? Come on. It's
No,
because,
I mean Google is going to have their own version because they've been working
oh,
on AI for a long time. But
oh,
yeah, they're going to have. They have to. They have
you know,
to.
now schools are saying that they can detect whether you've used Chat GPT, right? But
Yes.
it's like in the beginning, earlier, 25, 30 years ago, they wouldn't let kids bring
True.
calculators into
Right.
the and now they're going like, you don't have to learn how to add. Also, now they're saying you don't have to know cursive, right?
Right.
And I think it's the same thing, not allowing Chat GPT.
They've
You should be,
eliminated.
Go
Before
ahead.
even before ChatGPT, there was soft plagiarism software because kids were copying off the internet and taking a piece from Wikipedia and a piece from there and a piece from that and cobbling it together. Essentially, a DIY
Mm.
version of
Right.
ChatGPT that kids were
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
And then you have filters where they basically are plagiarism alerts for
Oh,
teachers. But you're right,
It's
ChatGPT.
silly. If ChatGPT can write it, great, write it. Then I need to do something more. I need to analyze it, understand it, learn more about it, invent my own thing, whatever. Um, for people that struggle, Adam's not one of them. He's the most brilliant writer that I know. But for people that struggle with writing, it's a gift. Write a letter asking for a job. What if it can draw, if it can paint, if it can think? I think people are very threatened. What will we do? What's our advantage? And I think our advantage is we're going to become, of course, it's a singularity, become melded with robotic assets so that we can become better instead of rejecting one
yes.
side or the other. And I think that's where we're headed. And nobody wants to believe that because it's just too threatening. It's about what evolution. It's about anti-religion. I don't know, Addie.
Yeah.
Why don't people
Mm.
accept that?
It is frightening, but I think it is a collaboration because human beings, our brains get better from writing. Writing is not, it's a heuristic, Faith.
Uh-huh.
It's not just an exercise because you refine your thinking and you actually inspire your brain to identify new thoughts, pathways,
Yes.
opportunities by the act of writing. So if we want to compete with robots, we have to
Mm.
write more, not less.
Yeah, but we don't have to write from the
Mm.
beginning.
Mm.
Go ahead,
We have to
Chloe.
be able to develop our thoughts
And
wherever we started, I think.
Yeah.
no, I just wanted to add that I also think that, uh, you know, this desire to create is inherent to humans. So even if we have machines like or AI doing that for us, it doesn't mean that we won't do it anymore because as humans, we have this instinctive need to create whatever it means, create art, but create buildings, a life, whatever. So maybe we could see it as a tool to help us, as Adam was saying, becoming better in a way, like optimizing our skills. Uh, but I really believe that even in 100, 200 years, we'll still have humans. Just I don't know if we'll still be writing by hand, with a hand and writing with pen and paper. I don't know, but I think yes, because it's part of us, and it's part of who we are and what we want to be as humans. I think.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? I mean, Elon Musk Neuralink will allow us to think something and have it, on the screen or somewhere in the air, wherever. So I agree. Paper and pens are going to be nostalgic and not necessary, and typewriters and, you know, blank screens that we write on. That's the
Yes.
past almost. So yeah, it's a little sad, but that's how it goes. And people are just pushing back and going like, don't take my humanness away. I want to still, struggle with the human things we struggle with when they could, many of them be solved,
Yes.
including loneliness with robotic
As we see in
companions.
Japan
It can,
already, in Asia, it's quite
medicine,
common, and yes, it's
Well,
didn't,
I mean, there's a lot of startups that are demonstrating that conversational AI could be highly effective in reducing the loneliness
mm,
burden on people. And even when people know they're talking to a bot, essentially, it doesn't matter. They're able to actually still engage, knowing that it's not a
yeah,
quote live person on the other
like
end of
when
the
you are
phone or the
talking to your
screen.
dog, or to your cat. I mean, some people really have this deep connection, and
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe there are some people who even say, well, I hear a response, whatever, how it, I mean, if you want to believe it or not, but I think it's interesting, this relationship to other beings that are not humans. whether it is robots or animals or nature. I
Yeah.
was actually reading the other day. I mean, it's nothing new, but it was seen as a trend in this curation that I sent you, that countries are going to give more and more rights to natural elements, animals, trees, rivers. So we already have like a few countries: New Zealand, Bangladesh, Bolivia, I believe. And so, yeah, it's interesting. What would it mean, for our anthropocenic society, where we feel that as a human we are in the middle of everything? If we suddenly give rights to those other elements, does it mean that we're not more important as we thought until now than an animal or
Right.
a river? I don't know. It's gonna challenge also our place in society, or in like in groups, or in this setting that we call life. It will challenge our place as humans, and not necessarily in a bad way, because as humans, again, we have this capacity also to reinvent ourselves always. And actually, some people reinvent themselves
Right.
every year. January 1st, they want to reinvent themselves on many different levels. So
Right.
it's exciting.
Yeah,
Yes.
until February 1st.
I
That
mean,
long? Faith and I were talking before about sort of a regression trend, right? You know, and we pointed out you could see it in the return of board games, vinyl records, and now to take that even higher, further to your point about the natural world. I mean, animism, pantheism, seeing plants and animals as having powers beyond what they might seem
yes,
to, goes back thousands of years.
yes,
It's a form of regression. It's primitive people who didn't know what we know now believed that plants were sentient, and now we're actually learning trees
yes.
can have conversations with
Was
each
there
other.
like a tradition in the US before the independence? Do you know of any like animist traditions in the US continent, North American continent?
Well, I mean, indigenous peoples, pre-colonialism, there was a huge tradition of anim. Yes,
So in the US as well, because I know it's from Asia mostly, but I was not aware that it was actually something that was widely spread. And you just answered my question.
And also, like, the Native Americans use plants for medicine.
Mm.
And and the drug companies kind of like destroyed that. And now we're coming back to it. That's another point of regression, Addie.
Mm.
I think
yes,
you could write a blog about regression
yes,
because
yes,
that's so simple. I mean, once you pointed it out, you can see it everywhere.
yes, exactly. Once it's like the old "let your food be your medicine and your medicine
Yes,
be your
back
food."
to
We're returning
Yeah,
to
Aristotle.
that.
Yeah, that's true. I
right.
mean, like, it would be an interesting topic to write about, Adam, for sure. And maybe with the help of ChatGPT, it could be interesting to see what
Yes.
it has to say about it.
Yeah. Do you know I went on ChatGPT yesterday and it was full. It
Yeah,
said
no,
did
I
you
got
see
that
that?
too. Yes,
We
I
can't
could blame now.
we
I could blame you, but yes, I got.
yeah.
It says we'll let you know, and it writes a little poem, and it
Well,
demonstrates its prowess while it's
mine
telling
wrote it
you.
like a little play.
Yeah,
Says the stage is set and why it's like tired and more people are
right.
coming in and it'll be back to you soon. That was weird.
Oh,
So I think a lot of people are
oh
popping
yes.
on that thing.
Oh yeah, it's got a million uses like in 3 days or something. I mean, it's in every business
Yeah.
conversation that I'm involved
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
No matter what the industry, no matter what the vertical, people just the speed of its appearance and the need to rapidly process what it could mean is dominating conversations.
It's interesting. Like, okay, that I've been watching Yellowstone. Well, I watch everything. I'm just so addicted. And it was when the washing machine first came in the
Right.
1800s, and the woman, one of the star, Helen Merriam, says, "That's interesting. I could get interested in that washing machine because if you show people something that can do something for you, like a robotic, vacuum cleaner, washing machine, or write something for you, or draw something for you, or babysit your kids, or anything, I think the human, what is it? I don't want to call it laziness, but I could. I mean, I could like
Mm.
do it for me. And I think that more and more we're being enabled by I didn't even want to drive anymore.
Mm.
Yeah,
Drive for me.
yeah.
What else
With
don't I want to do, Addie? I don't want to like what? I don't want to scrub and I don't want to write and I don't want to think. I don't want to draw.
well, if you don't want to work, if you're in the quiet
Mm.
quitting generation,
Yeah.
or you don't
Why
want to
should
you don't want to be forced to have loyalty to somebody.
right. I don't want to work because I think the companies are, without ethics, or I don't believe in their ethics. And I don't like that they treated me. Or how about this? I don't like how they treated my father and my mother. They fired them. They did this. It's a long history of corporate kind of,
Yes.
not being too nice to their employees.
Or I just want to have more time to do what I want to do, even if I might like my job.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I didn't see Yellowstone. Was it the electric washing machine that
Was it electric?
probably
I
not in
think
the 1800s?
no, I think it was electric because there were
Mm.
cars. I think it
Oh,
was electric. Yeah, but it had a ringer, but just the way it was a great moment. I should try to
yeah.
find it, like, what is that? I could like that.
That moment,
That.
yeah.
If you look at the history of labor saving devices like the washing machine, and they were advertised that they were going to, back in the 20s, if you look at the old ads, that they were going to deburden women and it was going to make life easier. But if you look at the data, it was not that. It made actually life harder.
Because because
People were more likely to create dirty laundry because it didn't matter. They had a washing machine and it just took more steps, took more time. So labor saving devices don't always turn out to be that labor saving. And I think ChatGPT is sort of like that too. Because
why?
because I think even if it's going to start, what I have found is I don't, maybe because I'm a writer, I don't use it for that purpose, because once you say, tell me about the French Revolution, you're now kind of, you can edit it, but you're still kind of stuck in the framework that it gives you. It doesn't give you the ability to think about, I went to get a croissant this morning and it made me think differently about the French Revolution. It's
The
it,
framework.
it uses a very standard framework
And tone
in
of
that.
Yeah,
voice also,
yeah.
maybe?
I think it's because you're a very
Mm.
straightforward voice,
It's
not
like Wikipedia.
academic.
It's
Yeah,
very flat.
Yeah.
It's
Neutral.
very
but
has
I
no.
think it's warmer. It's warmer than Wikipedia, and I think it's going to get warmer. Don't forget, it's still learning. So it might get to your point of I went for a croissant. I was thinking, or maybe I
It
don't.
might.
I
But
have a lot of hope for that thing.
really,
Yeah, I really do.
but its ability to innovate is limited because it just takes what's there.
Mm.
So far,
Well, it's not going to. It's a long way from being able to invent.
we don't know. We say that to make ourselves comfortable.
No, no, no. It's just like, let me no, because here's why I don't agree with that,
Okay,
because 99 out of 100 people can't invent anyway. So even if it gets as smart as 99 out of 100 people, it's still going to be limited in its inventive capacity.
okay. So I'm going to translate what Adam just said, which is if you're a genius, as he is, it won't be able to replicate that. Yes, I agree. You're one half of one half of one quarter of one eighth of 1%. Yes, you don't have to worry about
Oh,
ChatGPT.
it could duplicate what 99% of people can do. I agree with
Yeah,
that.
but
Yeah,
not
I agree.
you. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
it can. Like so many people struggle. I want to write a letter and
Mm.
ask for an internship. Those stupid things you have to
I
do all
agree.
day
No, I
long.
totally agree. I don't know if you saw that. I sent it to you. There's a Chloe probably doesn't know, the somebody developed a technology for chat where they put it in your ear, and if you're in court fighting, let's say, a traffic ticket, it gives
Oh
you
my
the
God.
legal
Wow.
answer to what
Oh,
to say.
you sent that to me? I didn't see that.
I'll send it again. Yeah.
Somebody else sent me a thing where if you want to ask anybody in history, I think they only have 20 people now. Any kind of, have a conversation with Thomas Edison.
Wow.
You can.
It's called character.ai.
The thing you're talking about or the thing
No, the
I'm
thing you're
talking about?
talking about.
Oh, okay. What the thing you're talking about is called what?
There's a use case where somebody basically turned text into voice. That's what ChatGPT is, text into voice, put it in a headphone so that if the judge says, tell me why you made that right turn on a red light, the ChatGPT will give you 5 things to say back in response.
My God, they're gonna eliminate
Let me
those.
ask, but here's so have either of you, I'm sure both of you have gotten lots of emails and examples of what chat can do, right? Everybody's sending around. I've never seen anything remotely as consuming, where I've gotten such a flood of emails and messages and texts around the innovation as I have with chat.
Yeah.
I know. It's like, are you getting them in a good way or a bad way?
Well, 90, most of it is, look how cool this is. Look what this
Okay.
did. I asked it about this. I asked it about that.
I asked it, we have 17 trends in our trend bank, and I asked it to define each. We're working through it. Like I'm at 4 or 5. I will say, and having Addie and I, we invented these things. The way they explained them was very, very good. And not just from, it didn't sound like they gathered a sentence from here or there. It was more holistic. I was impressed, I have to say. And they
It's
applied it
impressive.
to the present.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you call it? Vigilante consumer. So that's about consumers getting angry at, big companies. All right. And then they applied it to like people getting shot unfairly, or the vigilantism, where it's coming from. Then I asked it, could January 6th have been predicted by vigilante consumer? And they said no, because we didn't have enough points of evidence. And it went
Wow.
on about it. I don't agree with that. I think you could have predicted that, but yeah, it's crazy,
Yeah.
right? My own work. Annie and I, our own.
Yeah,
Adam
it
found.
is.
You should ask him. Adam and I. Dictionary of the future. He found it. Oh, he's found many, but there are at least 5. Things that were predicted. Maybe you should ask Chat to
Yeah,
expand
that's
on
a
it.
good idea. That's a good idea. No, I think where it's also at its strongest is storytelling. So I asked it, I said, tell me a story about a rabbit having lunch with Wittgenstein, and they have a fight over who picks up the check.
Wittgenstein, tell the
The
audience.
philosopher. And it gave me,
Okay,
at first it says the rabbit and Wittgenstein meet at a cafe. They sit down, the rabbit orders carrot salad. It was quite amusing. And then it told a holistic story where at the end they fight over the check and the waiter takes the check away and the owner of the restaurant pays for the lunch.
but what did Wittgenstein order?
A soup. Only a soup.
Soup. Only a soup. You
That
should have
sounds
had kebab.
philosophical.
No, I mean it's not perfect as you said,
Yeah.
but it had this from its open AI sort of reach. It had this structure of a story in
Like you
its.
could say to it, I mean, I could sit here all day long with you guys, and you could say, what does Donald Trump have for lunch in comparison to what John F. Kennedy would have for lunch?
Yeah. Oh, I said, tell me a story about Hitler going to
Oh.
Israel. So it made up a
That's good.
story. It made up a story about he went to Israel. It was controversial. People were picketing him. And then I asked it again, and it said, I can't talk about
So do
historical
you
figures
think?
like Hitler.
Oh.
So
But also you can turn it up, right, from 0 to 1 to allow it to be more
Oh. Okay.
expansive. I
I
saw a
think
little thing.
there's a button that says reset. You could have it tell the story again, but I don't know if
Not
you
the
can.
same story. I think you can tell if you want like a different version. Take a
Yeah,
look. I'm not. This is not
Yeah.
my strong
yeah,
suit. But
yeah. I'll
go
take a
ahead,
look.
Chloe. What are you saying?
No, I wanted to ask Adam. So do you think that because the first time you asked, they came with a story, and the second time they said, "I can't talk about that type of historical figure." So do you think that there is like I mean, for lack of a better word, I would say censorship, but some questions that they won't answer because of ethical reasons, because of
Oh, there are some. I think the algorithm is constantly being
okay,
tuned, would be my guess. So you come in at a different place somehow, and then the same question gives you a different answer.
Like if you say, "What's the best way to break into a school and kill people?" It will tell you, "I cannot answer that kind of thing."
probably yes.
Right.
I mean, for
That's
our
right.
work, it could be interesting to ask, about predictions, like a specific one, and then again and again and again, in order to have different perspectives, maybe depending on I don't know if the place where we are in the time of the day has an impact on, like maybe if you are in Asia and asking something about, I don't know, like a non-alcoholic beverage versus when you are in the US. I don't know if the location has an impact on, um, but
I
maybe
don't
it could be
know. That's
interesting for us.
You mean where you? I don't
Not
think it. That
not
essentially
yet.
it would know that from your IP address. I don't think it reads your
Yeah.
IP address. Time of day, perhaps.
Yeah, because this could be like a huge difference compared to what social media do for us, because like social media, they kind of curate and show you things also depending on your location, right? Whether it is on TikTok, on the For You page, or even, like on the page on Instagram. So it's interesting that to see that it's not a feature that is ChatGPT. I mean,
Right. But to your point about our role as futurists, there's an argument that says because the future is nonlinear and chat is basically linear. So it's sort of a reverse test. If you said to chat, do you think in the future redheaded people will run the world? And they say no, it's because there's no body of evidence that suggests they will, but maybe they will. So it's sort of maybe if it's too agreeable, it's probably wrong.
What could we ask it about uh
mm,
Prince Harry?
Well, it doesn't go. It only goes as far as 2021.
mm,
Really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's part
Oh.
of the disclaimer. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not updated beyond. It will, but
Uh,
it's only up to 2020. It's trained, as they call it. The AI is only trained on 2021.
that's
that's
interesting.
fascinating.
But it'd be interesting to ask it controversial questions, which I haven't done. Like, was there only one gunman who killed Kennedy?
Good question. You'll ask it, I'm sure, as soon as we hang up here. If you
Yes,
can get back in.
I know. How frustrated were you when you couldn't get in?
Furious. And I thought it was just
Yeah,
me being
No,
like a
but
narcissist, I guess. I said, it must be just
oh,
me. I must be doing
but
something
let us
wrong.
know, because it will be interesting
right.
to see if things are different today. If you can, and again, maybe some times of the day, like 8 a.m. instead of checking Instagram, people are now going to ChatGPT to ask something about, I don't know, like their dreams or their coffee or whatever, or a story they want to tell their children. So, and at,
Yeah.
I don't know, 3 p.m. when everyone is in meetings or whatever, maybe it's more.
Look, I think yeah, it's I wrote a story, a piece. I'll send you a link about how chat could actually be very threatening to brands because misinformation could be created and then spread if the content is charming. So I said, tell a story about a little. This is for you, Faith, our earlier
Thank you.
conversation. Tell me a story about a little boy who goes to McDonald's and is turned off by the way cows are killed and becomes a vegetarian. And it told like a once upon a time fairy tale story about this little boy, gave him a name Timmy. He goes to McDonald's. He asks his parents where hamburgers come from. His parents take him to a farm. He sees the cow and he becomes a vegetarian.
That's nice.
So it's like the most anti McDonald's story in the world.
But that's not misinformation.
No, no, it's misinformation. It's only misinformation in terms of the cloak of reality that it's dressed in. Because if you basically share that on social media and then put images to it, you don't know that it was created. You feel like it's actually happened to this little boy
Mm,
and it's a real story. Similarly, I said, tell me about um, why I shouldn't buy a Volkswagen because it was designed by Hitler. And it then tells a
Yeah.
pretty good story about. So, yes, it could take actual truths and amplify them and make them shareable and create risk to brands.
Yeah. I think that's the good part. I thought you were going somewhere else to tell lies about, things. I mean, it could do that too. It could tell you a nice story
It could
that's
do
not
both.
true.
It could do
Yeah,
both. It
yeah.
could do both.
But I love that you could say something like that and get a really sweet story about it. Um, what about? I know that there are apps and things that can predict your death. How what is it, your biological age versus your actual age, etc. But maybe you could eventually ask ChatGPT, if I tell you this and tell you that and tell you this and tell you that, when will I die? That would be very interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, we have. By the way, we have biological age and dictionary of the future.
Yeah. Well, you have everything in Dictionary of the
Not every,
Future.
but
And you're going to start to we're going to start to write those blogs about it because it's
right,
just
exactly.
too good.
Can't
Too
wait to
good.
read
Exactly.
them.
But I think this conversation about the biological age, I think now that people's imaginations are captured by it, then they will start to wonder, why can't it do this? Why can't it do that? It's sort of going to be a catch-up game between what it can do and what people want it to do, which is quite
Now,
culturally fascinating.
are we going to get mad at it? Let's go.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
Yeah. Because
Exactly.
we're going to expect it because we're so lazy to run our lives and tell us everything that how many kids should I have? I mean, like what you said, what did you call it? Like like almost like a centerpiece of life,
Right.
Chloe. What'd you call it early on? You said it might
Oh,
end up
oh
being
yes,
like
an
our God.
oracle. Like modern oracle.
An oracle. That's what I couldn't think.
It's
Yeah.
it's such a good question. I was reading today something that says that in certain spiritual traditions, people believe that up to 80% of their lives is already written. 80%. So we only have 20% of free will in a way, and so when the
Free
more you
will. Yeah.
practice, the more you can, the more you have like a spiritual practice, the more you can influence those numbers. And I was really thinking about, how it, I mean, whether you believe it or not, how it feels, how it would feel if we had 80% of our life that we wouldn't have control over. I mean, and the first feeling that came was like frustration. So I found it interesting, and I really want to dive deeper into that topic and see like different traditions, how they see and how they view this idea of free will. But it's a great question. And then if we have then tools like ChatGPT and we can ask them everything, then where is our free will? If the machine says, well, you need to have two kids because XYZ, well, will it reduce our free
Yeah.
will? Will it, if we want to believe it? I mean, it's fascinating. We live in a fascinating era.
It's a, it's an maybe it's like a mega influencer.
Oh yes,
You know, not with the absolute hard answer, but and we're used to influencers, aren't we? I mean, our teachers influence, our parents
yeah,
influence.
a
Now,
meta
ChatGPT
influencer.
influences.
Meta. Yeah.
A meta
Right.
Oh
influencer,
yes.
right? So anyway, just as a wrap up, this was I find it so interesting, Chloe, to talk to you. Please stay close and keep doing your beautiful work and keep in touch, telling us what you're seeing, and keep happy if you can.
Yeah.
And
Thank you so much, Face, for and Adam, of course, for inviting me. It's a real pleasure, and I know. I mean, maybe you don't know, but you are truly like a true inspiration for a lot of us in this field. And so it was a pleasure to have a chat with you. And Adam, also thank you so much for just being you and for reaching out and all the knowledge and the wisdom that you share. It's always a pleasure, and I've spent some time today reading your newsletter on mute, right?
Right.
And maybe the next one will be written with the help of ChatGPT. Who knows?
Maybe I could debate it.
But yeah,
yeah, that's
thank
good.
you so much. I wish you a beautiful
Thank you so
day,
much, Chloe.
and let's stay connected.
Thank you. Thank you, Chloe.
I liked her so much. She's so is it because she's European? She's so much more charming. The way she
I know. I was going to say, I want Chat GPT to teach me to speak with a French accent. That's my goal.
ah well, it could. I think it easily could.
She's an optimist. She's very much, looking at how the world can get better, which is, I think that's a good way for a good lens for futurism, because often it's all about grimness, right?
It is
And
my point
and
of view,
this
certainly.
and well, I'm right behind you.
You're right
Often it's
next to me.
right next to you, but dystopian, right? What's going to happen? But she think it's an interesting conversation about how your basic orientation influences how you think about the future.
Do you
It's
know what I
cute.
love? The best thing I think she said, maybe not the trendiest, but the best, was she said ChatGPT could become an oracle. And I think that's what we're all looking for. We're looking for God in a technological form. It's scary, but that was like, you could write something.
But don't you?
You,
I think it's found. I think there's an oracle quality, but also it is also ChatGPT is also the ultimate. This is going to sound negative again, in conformity, because what it does is it finds what is out there in the greatest quantity and indexes to that consensus.
that's true. But I think it could get more original as it learns.
Well, that's possible. Yes, I think that would be interesting. No, it was great to have her, and I think we need more futurists because I think the conversations are really electric when people from the same discipline look at things in different ways.
Yeah, we have a lot of futures, as you know, in Talent Bank. Let's just start to get them on. I think it'd be great. So Chloe was fantastic, and talking to you is always fantastic.
So that was another episode of Jolty. Faith and I enjoyed it. We love shaking things up. We love hosting people who are transforming the world, who refuse to accept the status quo, and who are hopefully, and I think are, helping our listeners succeed in this jolty, jagged, and complicated world that we're in.
So please rate us or comment on iTunes or the platform of your choice, but be nice.
Tell your friends, and see you next time.
Yeah. See you in the future, peeps.
See you in the future.